Conservative media peeps, what's up? It's me, John D. Villarreal, and Paula Villarreal there by phone. Now, we're still talking about this Congresswoman Giffords tragedy, this tragic shooting that took so many lives out there in Arizona, a federal judge, a beautiful 9-year-old little girl, a bunch of other people, some of the heroism by her intern and whatnot. And we talked about, we've covered all the different angles of it. We had our reaction to it. We've called for a prayer vigil. We've called for our thoughts and prayers for Congresswoman Giffords. We're still doing that. But on this video, we just talked about how the best information and our personal opinion right now that this guy looks like a left-wing guy, because a lot of people out there, you know, I believe for political motivations or other motivations, the mainstream media are trying to paint this guy as right-wing. Not at all in our personal opinion. You know, we'll see how the evidence keeps coming out, but not at all. And we lay that out. In this video, I want to clearly state that, because we've had a lot of comments, Paul's had them, I've had them, we'll talk about that. I'm going to have Paul's opinion here in a second. Oh, Sarah Palin, this is blood on Sarah Palin's head. Let me be very clear. Let me get right up close to the camera here to tell you right here. Sarah Palin had zero to do with this shooting. Nothing. Zip. Nada. So any attempt to say, and neither did Glenn Beck, and neither did Rush Limbaugh. So you need to get that through in your thought process out there, little liberals and stuff like that. And unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I think you all know that. And I think you're just trying to agitate and astroturf and do your little thing and smear Palin and get into people's heads because, you know, people are busy and they're watching football, this and that, whatever, and we're just going to say it and then throw it up there and see whatever sticks. That's what I think that you're doing. Now, let's be logical about this. So, all these people that want to blame Sarah Palin and Glenn Beck and then vitriol, this and that, whatever, and then blah, blah, blah. Well, see, I'm a lawyer, right? I went to an elite law school, right? And there we learn a little thing called logic. And we learn about causation. And we learn about syllogism and the Socratic method. And you see, we have to say that something is responsible for something, you need causation. So let's understand, do we have causation here? There is zero evidence that this guy is a right-wing Republican or anything else like that, number one. There is zero evidence that he ever listened to Sarah Palin, liked Sarah Palin, saw this ridiculous map that everyone keeps talking about from years ago or anything like that. Zero evidence. There is zero evidence that he is involved in any way, in any serious formal way at all in politics whatsoever. So let me understand here. This guy, there's no evidence that this guy is a Republican, right-wing anything. There's no evidence that he's involved in politics whatsoever. There's no evidence that he's ever met Sarah Palin, liked Sarah Palin, talked to Sarah Palin, has seen anything Sarah Palin's written, and yet these idiots want to go out there and blame Sarah Palin. That's fail. That's a facial. Okay? Similarly, there's no evidence that he listens to Rush Limbaugh or even know who Rush Limbaugh is. Same thing with Glenn Beck. Or Fox News or anybody else. So I mean, you know, you want to talk about something that is sick, in my personal opinion. It's the trying to make political hay out of this seriously brutal tragedy. A woman, a congresswoman who did nothing more than try to serve her constituents. Yeah, she's a Democrat. She seems cool to me. This isn't about right or left. She's in a hospital right now, and you idiots out there want to make political hay out of this and smear a good woman, another good woman, Sarah Palin. What are you afraid of? You afraid of actually facing a good, strong woman in an election? You want to use this? You're so disgusting that you want to use this for political purposes when you have no evidence? Maybe that doesn't bother you. Same thing with Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. Paul, what do you want to say about this? See, I'm getting hot now.
Yeah, you were talking about causation and logic and reasonable associations here. Well, what I wanted to say is that this man, this young man, shooter, seems like a troubled guy, and I don't know that. That's just appearances, and my opinion based on what I've seen about him so far. He has been described as a far-left person, a liberal, by people that know him, or know him now, or knew him before. And internet a lot. Well, where might he go? Well, you could always go to a place like Daily Kos. There is, you know, in 2008, the founder, Daily Kos, Marcos Miletus, wrote that he was targeting and putting a bullseye on Congresswoman Giffords' district. So, in other words, this person who is supposedly a liberal could have seen that in Daily Kos in 2008. He also could have seen just a few days ago, a couple days before this incident took place, after Congresswoman Giffords voted against Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House in a vote that she was going to lose to Republican majority and John Boehner, but symbolic vote. Giffords was one of, like, I think 19 Democrats that did not vote for Nancy Pelosi. Well, on that day, apparently, or right around there, a person on Daily Kos wrote a diary that I think had the headline that said, "My Congresswoman is dead to me," after she voted against Pelosi. They were talking about Congresswoman Giffords, and that was just a few days before she was shot. So if you have someone using logic, you have someone that's a liberal, they're on the internet, you know, or supposedly is a liberal, well, you know, this says that, you know, that, again, I'm not implying that he saw that or anything like that, but that has more merit than all of this stuff about Sarah Palin. And you know, so if you're going to play that game, then I think that there's more of an inference to be made with what I just said than this ridiculous stuff around Sarah Palin.
Well, look, and I want to be clear. We're not saying that Daily Kos or whoever this blogger or Marcos Miletus or any of these people have any responsibility for this either.
No, we're not saying that. What we're doing is we're playing a logic game here, which is there's zero evidence from anybody at all about this individual, Jared Lee Laughlin, ever listening, seeing, or anything about Sarah Palin. Nobody.
Or Glenn Beck, or Rush Limbaugh, or even Fox News.
Right. That he's right-wing or any of this stuff, but people close to him have said he's liberal. He does seem to be involved in the internet. You know, again, I'm just saying, the logic game here is if you're going down the one road and trying to smear somebody else, it's actually a lot easier to go down the other road and say that he could have been influenced by a site by Daily Kos. The truth is, as John said, we don't know any of this, and nobody's implicated in this. Not the crime, but the moral crime being done here is what the media and people that are politically motivated trying to associate and smear Sarah Palin, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, and the Tea Party with this individual. That's the problem.
Let me sum it up right here. We are not blaming anybody or any organization or anything other than this guy himself. If you're innocent till you're proven guilty, if it's proven in a court of law after the evidence is all read and the testimony and the witnesses that he is in fact guilty of this crime, there's nobody and nothing and not anything else to blame but him. But as Paul said, if you want people that want to play political football with this and start attacking Sarah Palin or Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, Fox News, all the rest of them, you know, us, whoever on the right, it's a lot easier to make that kind of logic game, that kind of guilt by association on the left than it is on the right. That's all in our personal opinion. All this is our personal opinion. We're not alleging any facts. We're not casting aspersions. Check the disclaimers. All for entertainment purposes only. But in our personal opinion, it's a lot easier to make that guilt by association on the left than it is on the right. And unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I don't think that that this is about facts or anything for a lot of the astroturfers and other people that are trying to do this. I think this is all, you know, you throw the mud out there and you see what sticks. And I'm saying that it's wrong.
Let me just comment on that. It is my personal opinion that what is being done here is a tactic of, even if the media and political operatives know that this might not have anything to do with Sarah Palin or aren't sure, they sure as heck seem to want to associate it with her in the public's mind, so that, you know, that's the first information they get.
It is
I'm saying
wrong.
that it is, but it's my opinion. That's what it looks like is happening, and that's wrong.
If that's the case, in my opinion, that is wrong and that's unfair. I've met Sarah Palin. I like Sarah Palin. I met First Dude. I think they're, you know, one of the nicest, kindest, most decent people out there and whatnot. And listen, you know what? We need to focus on reality here. There's a woman, there's people that are dead, there's a good congresswoman that is fighting for her life in a hospital right now, and we need to focus on the real issues here and not this kind of garbage political junk. You know, people need to be individuals and people and get out of this, you know, left, right kind of thing, whatever like that, in these AstroTurf and mainstream media games. That's all we want to say right here. But we're going to have another video coming up about what, you know, our personal opinion about where this guy might be coming from. I think we have some insights to it. We have some ideas about it. You're going to stay tuned to that. You tell me what you think about this. Comment below. Subscribe above. Again, keep the comments legit. Keep them intelligent. And for Conservative Media, I'm John. That's Paul. We'll see you next time. Watch our next video. This is important.